PCE came a little hotter than expected, but the markets are still up with the S&P 500 continuing to be at all-time highs. NASDAQ also hitting new all-time highs. And Tesla flirting around with break even this morning with the news out of Austin, up, down, lots of negative things, but not actual negative things. These are negative press about nothing negative to report on, but they'll find ways. CNBC put out a video this morning that was one of the saddest pieces of journalism. In fact, there's no way you could call it journalism. It'd be called amateur hour with regard to their inability to get access. So they're just throwing up whatever they can to be part of the story. All right, let's go ahead. I got lots for you this morning, so let's jump right in. Let's start with an analysis from AJ. Well worth the review. Tesla's sales trajectory, because that's what we're going to be talking about for the next 3 days. Okay, 4 days till next Wednesday when the numbers come out. Tesla's sales trajectory reflects two distinct phases. There was an EV boom pre-2023, driven by limited competition, favorable policies, macroeconomic tailwinds. Then there was the EV hangover that took place after that, which was marked by rising rates, interest rates, fierce competition, especially in China, unsustainable industry practices like loss-making sales, especially in China and to a certain degree in Europe. So, he says in order for Tesla to regain momentum in car sales, let's take away the whole, AV part of this. Competitors' financial resilience must weaken, or Tesla must leverage its AI and manufacturing strengths to outpace the market. While political factors play a role, structural market shifts are the dominant force shaping Tesla's current challenges. So I would agree with all of that, except that I would, and he points it out, all of the governments around the world who were really promoting the heck out of EVs, that's almost all gone away at this point. We got, the United States has still got 6 months left, but the big, beautiful bill is going to pass before July 4th. You can count on that. If President Trump has to break legs and break arms, he will in order to get that done, not just twist, he'll break. Analysis of Tesla's vehicle sales trends and EV unprecedented growth had favorable conditions for many months until 2022. Tesla's vehicle sales soared, fueled by a unique convergence of market, technological, and macroeconomic factors. This phase saw Tesla capitalize on limited competition in a supportive environment. They had market leadership with the Model 3 and then the Model Y, dominating. The ADAS features like automated highway driving were groundbreaking, but no longer. Lots of people have, got some fairly nice stuff. In fact, I don't think he's going to mention, if I remember in this article, but I've been in my brother's new vehicle, and even though it's a hybrid, it's got a UI on the computer that's pretty sophisticated. Not nearly as sophisticated as Tesla, but it's got a lot of stuff, a lot of fun junk on there. Limited competition, minimal EV offerings in that time period, a supportive macro environment, generous EV incentives. He does mention, again, ultra low interest rates, all those things. But the reliance on subsidies, low rates, and supply-driven pricing set the stage for an inevitable shift to a more challenging phase. So the hangover phase, starting 22, Tesla faced a tougher landscape marked by reduced affordability, much reduced affordability, intensified competition, and market saturation. So then you had lower sales growth. Now, so you got rid of the early adopters and you started having to go to the second phase. You also have the thing which I talk about, he will not talk about, which is the middle part of the United States. Gas prices are so low compared to the coast, well, especially compared to California, that there's just not as much interest in the Midwest. And you have the Republicans not being interested in being forced to buy EVs. Rising interest rates and affordable crunch, inflation surged, prompted the U.S. Federal Reserve to hike rates. Global EV models proliferated in China. Many offerings grew from 80 to over 200 different models. Legacy automakers flush with COVID-era windfall profits from high-margin inventory sales use strong balance sheets to subsidize loss-making EV programs. Companies like Stellantis and VW offered aggressive discounts and, in some cases, premiums to lure Tesla owners away specifically. New EV startups, XPeng, NIO, Rivian, Lucid, Li Auto scaled production, often selling at a loss, always selling at a loss to compete with Tesla. Narrowing technological gap, Chinese automakers, unburdened by profitability pressures, closed the gap with Tesla, offering EVs with longer range, faster charging, and competitive software at lower prices. Tesla's focus on AI over automotive R&D slowed its pace of EV innovation. Residual value collapse. Price cuts and market saturation devalued used Teslas, impacting consumers' confidence and also the leasing dynamics. And then there was extended holding periods for Tesla owners. The significant loss of residual value locked Tesla customers into longer vehicle ownership periods as trading in or selling their vehicles became less financially viable. He doesn't say this, but part of this was this giant up down of the boom bust during COVID, where prices went crazy. And then, of course, your car lost value after that. Forbes has this morning: leaders from driverless companies at the Move 2025 conference. Man, I wish I'd known about this MOVE 2025 conference in London this week. I might have gone to that one. Probably not. But anyway, they were talking about bringing down the costs of autonomous tech. This is what the subject was: managing maintenance of robotaxis and remote monitoring ratios. Man, good stuff. Pierre Pomper, Chief Commercial Officer of autonomous trucking company Finride, said he said this at the conference: the stars are aligning for autonomous vehicles, particularly with regulatory activity and technological maturity. We're in the right place to scale. But even if that's true, and that remains to be seen, scaling these business models comes with plenty of challenges. The true cost of robotaxi services versus people driving. Industry leaders speaking at the conference laid out a series of hidden costs that need to be considered if and when the technology works and regulators allow such services. Helen Pan, general manager for Apollo Autonomous of Chinese tech giant Baidu, noted that the cost of vehicles and the hardware bolted onto them, here again, the cost of the vehicles and the hardware bolted onto them remains a major concern, noting they need to be significantly cheaper than a human driver or there's little chance for business success. And this is Baidu. This is a huge autonomous car company in China. We have to go really low cost, extremely low cost, Pan told attendees. You have to be cheaper than a human driver, what the driver can deliver. Now, in China, of course, that's different because the cost of the driver is so much lower. And while the cost of the car, sensor systems, and onboard computers are coming down, she said, they are just part of the total bill when it comes to robotaxi services, with many people working behind the scenes to enable such services, despite removing a driver from behind the wheel. After all, an Uber or Lyft driver not only owns their vehicle, in most cases at least, but also cleans and maintains it with all the time and cost that includes. For a robotaxi service, the driver is gone, so someone else has to be hired to clean out the cars. Lucas Neckermann, co-founder of Pave Europe, pointed out the early deployments of robotaxis in China and the US. Many people behind the scenes, almost as many behind the scenes as they would have had drivers. All of that effort that goes into what an Uber or Lyft driver does, cleaning the vehicle, maintaining the vehicle, charging the vehicle, registering the vehicle, the fleet management, etc., it doesn't go away. It just goes somewhere else. Some of that back office operation is a real opportunity on the one hand, but it's also a real cost. One back office cost of driverless is remote operation, and the ratio between cars and human monitors back at headquarters isn't information that companies are keen to share. With Tesla saying ahead of its robotaxi launch that it would have plenty of teleops. At Move 2020, by the way, they have plenty of teleops, but they're basically only there to take over if they're called. So they're not apparently managing the drive or even watching every single car during the entire drive. At Move 2025, Kathy Winter, COO at May Mobility, stressed that teleassist wasn't about remotely driving the vehicles. They simply monitor, and if a vehicle gets into trouble, make suggestions or give it permission to maybe go around something that popped up strangely, she said, is very rare. She said May started with a 1-to-1 ratio of car to human monitors in the beginning and has since improved that to one person overseeing 4 vehicles. She says by the end of the year or very soon, we will be monitoring 1 person to 10 vehicles. So when you start to see those kinds of numbers go up, it gets much more cost efficient and very effective. But that suggests that companies that haven't managed to improve that ratio could struggle to scale. Scaling training data for Robotaxi rollouts. Winter also pointed to the ongoing challenge of expanding into new cities, and an idea known as generalizable autonomy, allowing a car that works in, say, San Francisco to just be dropped in Miami, London, or Tokyo with as little additional training as possible, which is what Tesla is planning to do. It's something Waymo is testing this year with trials in the wider range of geographic locations to see if existing systems can work in other locales. Most companies, they invest a lot, May's Winter said, of such efforts. She said that first an autonomous company raises billions of dollars, then it drives millions and millions of miles for training, hard codes in edge cases, and develops an offline driving model, only to have it do it again when they move to another city. That's a major hurdle for scaling. Many of the autonomous vehicle companies that have taken this approach, they haven't succeeded, she added, pointing to Cruise among others. The model wasn't sustainable. Because of that, Winter suggests that any systems trained in places with only nice weather would find difficulty elsewhere. May Mobility, she has been keen to point out, has operations in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which has the full 4 seasons, most of them bad. And she said that highlighting the importance of building reasoning into the system. They've got to build the reasoning into the system so they can better understand what they see, even if they've never seen it before, or in other words, end-to-end neural networks. Tesla miles and miles ahead. Tesla never mentioned one in the entire article. Not once in the entire article. Others noted the challenge of shifting to driving on the right-hand side of the road. Kevin Johnson, CEO at Oxys, said he suggested that the high costs and lack of actual need could compound to slow the Robotaxi rollout, with autonomy instead coming to trucks first. What problems are we trying to solve, he said. We think that the problem that needs solving the soonest is adding more capacity to the logistics side, the trucking side. Winter pointed to public transport potential. It noted that Robotaxi services were a solid way to get more autonomous cars out there, referencing May's recent shift into the arena with Uber. This move to take on ride-hail is just a different way to scale, she noted. You know, we see the need for accessible transportation for folks everywhere, whether it's public transit or not, and we want to reduce the amount of dependency on car ownership. She noted the cost of personal car ownership shouldn't be ignored. It's really expensive. I didn't realize it, but apparently it's really close to $1,000 a month. So even if the tech gets sorted, the road to driverless taxis and Robotaxi service remains full of costs. All right, this from ABC News. Here's what the experts think about the Tesla Robotaxi rollout in Austin. Chief Executive Elon Musk has touted the Robotaxis a potential boom for the company and its customers, eventually offering car owners a way to make money off their vehicles when they aren't using them. For now, the self-driving cabs come equipped with a safety monitor in the passenger seat, ready to intervene, as well as internal systems that prevent the cars from traveling outside a narrow portion of the city. The rollout marks a milestone for the company's self-driving taxi ambitions, but limitations placed on the vehicles and a series of apparent miscues suggest the technology remains far from wide adoption, some analysts told ABC News. It's a step in the right direction, Seth Goldstein, an analyst at Morningstar who studies the electric vehicle sector, told ABC News. At the same time, it also highlights that Tesla is still in the early stages. The self-driving taxi service unveiled on Monday involves 10 to 20 vehicles. In addition to a real-life safety monitor, the cars feature other precautions, including teleoperators and plans to avoid bad weather. We saw that in the reporting that we've done the last couple of days. Customers hail the service using an app, much like rideshare competitors, Rides are priced at a flat $420 for now. Musk celebrated the launch on Sunday. Sawyer Merritt, a Tesla investor, said that he's taken 20 Robotaxi rides, traveling 92 miles over a 36-hour period. Quote, all my rides were smooth and comfortable. Merritt posted on X on Tuesday, no interventions, no critical safety issues. Some passengers have encountered mishaps, however. In one case, a Robotaxi appeared to drive on the wrong side of the road. We've talked about that. It was really a nothing burger. Some analysts downplayed the incident as routine hiccups typical of a company testing a new product, while others viewed the miscues as a troubling sign. The limited video evidence that we've seen shows why a safety driver is still necessary, says Bryant Walker Smith, a law professor at the University of South Carolina who studies transportation technology. That doesn't mean that every single trip will have an intervention, but the fact that any interventions of any kind have been necessary in mere days amply demonstrates why there needs to be, and in fact, have to have somebody in the car paying attention at all times, ready to get involved. I don't have anybody sitting in my passenger seat that intervenes when I make stupid mistakes. Kara Kodelman, a professor of transportation engineering at the University of Texas, said the mishap suggests an accelerated launch. Elon Musk rolls things out quickly, too quickly for most business tastes for sure. Previously, Tesla has faced scrutiny from federal and state officials over how it advertises its self-driving technology, as well as concerns over safety risks. NISTA is looking at that incident where the car went in the wrong lane. Musk has promised to produce millions of Robotaxis as soon as next year. Goldstein of Morningstar said the company would not scale up Robotaxis any earlier than 2028. That will not age well. Walker Smith voiced greater skepticism, saying Tesla has repeatedly failed to fulfill promises. The question is, why should we believe you this time, Walker Smith said. Kockelman acknowledged previous delays while saying Musk could still achieve next year's goal, which of course is 1 million at the end of 2026. If things go lucky, he could be right. Mario Nawfal, breaking, Grok 4 drops after July 4th. Coders buckle up. Elon's grinding all night with his XAI brainiacs to finish Grok 4, slated for release right after July 4th, right after the fireworks fade. The new Grok needs one final monster training run to become a specialized coding wizard. Elon called it good progress, hinting this upgrade could leave rival chatbots eating Grok's silicon dust. This is Randy Kirk. See, I told you it was long. Hit likes. We got way more to go. We have way more to go. Anyway, this is Randy Kirk. Hit like, subscribe, notify. Don't know, no idea who's going to be on later today. My guess is Larry Goldberg and Brian Wong, but we'll see. Personal income decreased $109.6 billion, or 0.4% at a monthly rate in May, according to estimates released today. Personal income less personal current taxes decreased by 0.6%, and personal consumption expenditures decreased by only 0.1%. Personal outlays, the sum of PCE, personal interest payments, and personal current transfer payments decreased by 27.6 billion. Personal savings were 1 trillion in May, and the personal savings rate as a percentage of personal income was at 4.5%. So this is interesting. So personal income came down, personal spending came down from where it was last month, but personal spending was still increasing. But people are still putting tons of money into savings. The decrease in current dollar personal income in May primarily reflected, here you go, here's the main reason. It primarily reflected decreases in government social benefits to persons and in-farm proprietors' income that were partly offset by an increase in compensation in the real world. The 29.3 billion decrease in current dollar PCE in May reflected a decrease of 49.2 billion in spending on goods that was partly offset by an increase in services. But here's the big thing. The entire decrease in spending, way more than everything else, was motor vehicles. Nobody's talking about that. You got to go deep, like I do, into the details. Motor vehicle spending dropped by 49% month over month. So you had this massive increase in April, or May rather, No, April. And then you had this decrease compared to April in May, and that is the entire problem. And maybe that's also impacting the PCE report this morning. Pending home sales were another surprise beat, up 1.8%. The economic numbers on home sales this week have been all over the place, but I'm going to say that overall it's a little weak right now. Okay, what about consumer sentiment? Consumer sentiment surged 16% from May in its first increase in 6 months. 16%! Confirming the mid-month reading, but remains well below the post-election bounce, which was huge, the biggest ever in history. Don't mention that. The improvement was broad-based across numerous facets of the economy, with expectations for personal finances and business conditions climbing about 20% or more. Despite June's gains, however, sentiment remains about 18% below December 2024 after the election, when people went crazy. Consumers continue to be concerned about the potential impact of tariffs, but at this time, they do not appear to be connecting developments in the Middle East with the economy. Interesting. Year-ahead inflation expectations plummeted from 6.6 last month and 9% the previous month to 5% this month. Long-run inflation expectations receded also from 4.2 to 4. And I bet you I didn't go into the details to get the comparisons on Republicans versus Democrats, but it has been broad, a big spread. Consumers' fears about the potential impact of tariffs on future inflation softened in June. Still, inflation expectations remain above readings seen in 2024. Okay, and I forgot to write this down. I forgot to put the details down on this, but the PCE this morning came in 0.1% on the headline, 0.2% higher on the core, and 2.3%, tick up on the headline number year over year, but a big one, 2.7 on core. Again, I did not remember. Sorry, I just didn't do it. But anyway, those numbers apparently satisfied the markets, although bond yields did tick up a little bit. We'll look at those in a second. Okay, I've got this new thing I'm doing every morning. You may have noticed. Trueflation, 2.19. That's down just a little bit, day over day. Trump, 51%, also down 1% compared to 1% compared to yesterday. And the VIX at 16.26, getting more and more risk on. Markets. The markets right now, Tesla is now down almost a full percent. It's been up, it's been down. It's been all around $325.78. I guess the market right now must be waiting for Tesla to take off some of the guardrails. Dow Jones, and of course, I'm down to what, 6.5 trading days to make my number. You think I'm not going to make it, huh? Okay, you think what you like. Okay, the Dow Jones is up almost a full percent, 0.87%. The NASDAQ is up 0.46%. So the Dow is catching up a little bit this morning. It had not been hitting those all-time highs yet. And the S&P up 0.53 at 6,173, well above all-time highs now for the S&P. I think that all-time high was 6,158, I think. Okay. All the Magnificent Seven, except for Tesla and Microsoft, off a tad this morning. NVIDIA up strongly, another all-time high of 1.33. And the Cathie Woods mixed with the, just mixed. How's that? Mixed. That'll do for now. Let's go ahead into the bonds. They are up 2.8, back up to 4.28, sadly. Okay, so let's hope that's a momentary flex. The dollar is a little weak this morning, definitely down a little bit this morning. We have got oil up 62 cents at 65.86, and natural gas up, look at this, 4.76%, back to $3.69. You got gold dropping $68.80, back down to $3,279. Silver also down 1.71 at $35.95, and copper down 1.14 but still over $5. So, but quite a drop off now in those commodities. Bitcoin down 992 at 106. Okay, so quite an interesting morning this morning. With Tesla bouncing around at around break even today, we'll see what happens later in the day, and we'll also find out who the heck is going to be co-hosting with me at the roughly 5 o'clock hour, and then again at 7:45. Last night, I did a video last night at the very end of the day at 7:45, which I think you should go back and check out. I don't remember why. It just had to be good. I wouldn't have, I know it was excellent. So if you have a few minutes, it was only a 20-minute video. You might go back and check it out. There's the card. Hey, it's been great talking to you.